Hey, what is up mortals, it is JamesCfer here, and before we get into today's video, I'd like to thank my supporters on Patreon. Firstly, Mr. Moisturize, and secondly, Dunkbuckus Gaming. Their channels will be in the description below, and a link to my Patreon as well as a link to the Discord group chat will be there as well. On there, you can talk to myself and some of the fans of this channel, and it means a lot to us if you join us. There are quite a few people there already, and it'd be awesome if you joined us. I couldn't do this without each and every one of you, and now into today's video. So, spoilers for the plot of Charlotte and My Hero Academia. This is what if My Hero Academia and Charlotte took place in the same universe. Now, I know what you're thinking. What? That makes no sense. Well, hear me out. So, Charlotte is a series where teenagers gain powers. The main character has the ability to steal others' powers using his, which is called Plunder. Plunder allows him to take over the body of someone he's looking at for 5 seconds. Once those 5 seconds are over, he returns to his own body and he gains the power of whoever he was looking at and whoever he used his ability on. The ability Plunder only requires him to be looking at someone. This means it only requires eyesight and only at least one eye to do so, as he used it with only one eye at one point in the manga and anime. He can also use this ability on someone who doesn't have a power, but it doesn't really take anything from them, so it doesn't do much. But the ability to steal someone's powers, who does this remind you of? So anyways, this anime takes place in 2015, whereas in My Hero Academia, it takes place in around 2500 or so. That's nearly 500 years difference, or roughly 10 or so generations. Now in Charlotte, everyone gets their abilities from a comet called Charlotte, which is where the show gets its name from. It passes every few hundred years. Yu, who is the main character, his elder brother has the ability to time travel, but it causes him to go blind every time he uses it. So he goes blinder and blinder the more he uses his ability. He uses this to make himself rich and to fund a research team to find a cure for these abilities. These powers naturally fade away when the user reaches adulthood. Now, here's what I'm proposing. This drug works, and it prevents the person who receives it from gaining abilities. Now, since just about everyone has received this drug, none of them will gain abilities. And because of what happened at the end of the series, where you went around collecting everyone's powers, including the ones where you can heal himself, he can now heal himself, and this would allow him to restore his cells and keep them young for as long as he wants, meaning he wouldn't lose his abilities for as long as he wanted. Now, I'm not saying that Yu is all for one, but we'll get to that in a minute. So, with this drug, the majority of the world has taken it. The drug contained a small amount of the bacteria or chemical from the comet that caused the abilities in the first place. As the drug is a vaccine, it's used to help prevent people from gaining the abilities. What I'm suggesting is that as the vaccine is passed down from parent to child, there's a chance that not enough of it is passed down, so that the child is now born with naturally occurring powers, or as they're called in My Hero Academia, quirks. Now, the amount of vaccine that's passed down would be completely random, and it would likely be fairly strong for the first few generations, with only a few quirk users appearing. The second generation would be a few more on average, and then it would be after that that the quirk users would start appearing in large amounts. Now, the difference between a quirk and a power. A power is something that you're granted by the comet, like you. A quirk is something that you're born with, or something that comes from the vaccine version of the abilities, basically. Because of the vaccines, this explains why most people's powers at the very start of quirks being a thing were fairly weak, and why even in modern day, not everyone has a super strong quirk. Now, as these are passed on genetically, it makes sense that parents and children would have similar abilities. So, Yu's children would probably have similar abilities to himself. Not exactly the same though. Now, let's for the sake of this say that All For One doesn't realize that he has a quirk, and his father doesn't think either of his sons have powers. Though from his point of view, these powers are still unnatural and are something that should be taken away, so he would go around collecting people's powers again. And this is probably around the point that something bad would happen to him. Maybe he'll die, maybe something would go wrong, maybe he'd collect too many powers and it would kill him, or his mind would just give out. Not long after this happens though, his eldest son, All For One, would find out that he has a quirk. He uses this quirk for self-gain, a bit like how his father did, at least from his point of view. He would go around taking people's quirks and keeping them for himself. Sooner or later, he would realize that he could give someone a quirk. So he'd give his brother a quirk, as he would feel bad for him, and he would see his brother being powerless as an insult to his family. This quirk that he gives his brother would combine with the one that his brother already had, which would create One For All. Now, the two sons got two different parts of his father's abilities. The eldest got the ability to take someone's powers, and the second got the ability to pass a power from one body to another. The younger brother would have a better understanding of what his father went through and what his father was talking about, as he knew that it was because his father wanted the world to be safer, and he didn't want all the power to be for himself, but he knew that that was the safest way to go about things. Whereas the eldest would think his father was collecting all this power because he should be the best. He should have the most power. Power rules. People without are the weak ones. And it's these two different ideologies that create All for One and One for All. This is why they named their abilities that. So All for One named his that because he wants everyone's power for himself. Whereas One for All is one person using their power to protect everyone else's. They're two ways of the brothers seeing their father's actions. Anyway, that's it for this theory. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And today's hashtag will be hashtag MHA Charlotte, all one word. Anyway, peace out, mortals. Have an amazing day.
Eyes in the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining.